You know, despite having her support person by her side, Tim Walz, Kamala fumbled through her first sit-down interview, flip-flopping more than a dead fish. The media reviews today, though, once again proving President Trump is up against a coordinated machine.
How do you think Dems are feeling about her performance last night?
They should be feeling good about it, in part because there were no mistakes.
I thought it was better than that, actually. I thought she did herself good in that interview.
They finally did the first fake interview and not have any sort of viral clip that their opponents could seize on.
That is not the last test that she'll face in that realm, but I think she did an exceptional job in the interview that we saw last night.
Unbelievable. 38 days after the oligarchs installed Kamala Harris as the Democratic presidential nominee, Kamala finally spoke without a teleprompter and for longer than a few seconds in an exclusive to CNN's Dana Bash, who pitched softer balls than I do with my 7-year-old daughter playing wiffle ball in her backyard.
How should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? Would you do anything differently? For example, would you withhold some U.S. weapons shipments to Israel? That's what a lot of people on the progressive left want you to do.
She might as well have asked her what her favorite color is. I mean, the entire edited interview lasted a mere 16 minutes and 29 seconds. You compare that with Trump's sit-down interviews. With Elon Musk, it was 2 hours and 3 minutes. Sean Ryan, 1 hour and 11 minutes. Theo Vaughn, 57 minutes. With Dr. Phil, another 57 minutes. President Trump, of course, not holding back at tonight's rally in Johnston, Pennsylvania. I don't know where this guy gets the energy. And take a listen to what he said about Kamala.
Did you see her? Did you see her last night? Did you see her last night? I don't know. You think she's going to be able to handle President Xi? I don't know. I don't think so. China, North Korea, Russia, I don't know. Sitting propped up on a desk with this guy, this Tampon Tim. And it's the first interview she's done in, like, nobody's ever seen anything like it. And if you're too weak to do a one-on-one interview with a person that was so soft.
It did seem like Tim Walz was up on a high chair or something. Now, despite the most basic of questions, Kamala still couldn't keep her lies straight on multiple issues like fracking.
I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
Oh, Kamala. Here she is being asked the very same question during the town hall on the climate crisis in 2019.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah, and starting with what we can do on day one around public land.
Kamala also said during that town hall that she'd ban fracking. You heard her. On day one if elected. And here's what Kamala said she'd do now if elected as president.
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard, which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families, for example, extending the child tax credit.
So her day one opportunity economy plan is to tax unrealized gains, raise corporate taxes, price controls, and J.D. Vance's plans to raise the child tax credit. Because clearly the White House's economic policies are working so incredibly well already. According to Moody Analytics, Biden-Kamala economic policies are costing millions of Americans hundreds of dollars more every single month. Inflation under Trump was almost non-existent, as was the border crisis. A crisis now so out of control that in Aurora, Colorado, I'm sure you've seen this video by now, a Venezuelan prison gang of illegals took over an apartment complex. We're going to be talking to the mayor in just a bit. Now, this is actually happening in the United States, and we're paying for all of these invaders using billions and billions of our tax dollars. Yet when CNN asked the border czar, Kamala, whether crossing illegally into the country should be decriminalized, here's what she said.
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws. that have to be followed and enforced, that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally, and there should be consequences.
What are the consequences? A ticket, a slap on the wrist? You know, Kamala, do you not realize that we have receipts on what you've already said about this?
I'm in favor of saying that we're not going to treat people who are undocumented and cross the border as criminals. That's correct. That is correct.
Here's what else is correct, Kamala. You helped create the mess in this country. Yet, according to Obama's former senior advisor, David Axelrod, the vice president apparently does nothing.
I don't think the thing about, this whole thing about, you didn't say it tonight, but you've said before, and I just disagree with this notion that Dan actually asked the question, well, you've been there for 3.5 years. No vice president makes policy, okay? Let's just make that clear.
Well,
nobody has said this before. Nobody talks about the Pence years.
Really? Really, David? Not according to Joe Biden, as well as Kamala herself, who has consistently said that she works hand in hand with Joe Biden on everything.
She's leading the effort because I think the best thing to do is to put someone who, when he or she speaks, they don't have to wonder about, is that what the president is? When she speaks for me, doesn't have to check with me. She knows what she's doing, and I hope we can move this along.
Maybe you couldn't see because of the face diaper, but he said when she speaks, it's him speaking. You know, throughout the entire CNN sit-down, Kamala struggled to form simple, coherent thoughts. When she was asked about her values changing, she suddenly brought up the Green New Deal. And then, I mean, just watch this.
The climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time.
What in the world salad was that? Deadlines around time? Could you imagine her with world leaders, with President Xi, with Putin? And then here's what Kamala said in her desperate attempt to put down President Trump.
I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans, really dividing our nation, and I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
Does Kamala not know that she's the vice president now and that Joe Biden has been the president for the last 3.5 years? Oh, and that the Democrats have controlled the White House for 12 of the last 16 years. But poor support person, Tim Walz, you liked how I made sure to have his correct pronouns. You know, he just kind of sat there, propped up, nodding the entire time, you know, nodding along. But here's one of the most memorable moments of Tim Walz.
The idea that you said that you were in war. Yeah. Did you misspeak, as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar's not always correct.
So grammar is now an excuse for stolen valor. But what do you expect from this duo? Looks like Kamala even lied about working at McDonald's in college. Who does that? Something she only started claiming recently. Snopes investigated this and stated, quote, but aside from Harris' testimony itself, there is no evidence to independently verify this claim. There's nothing there. So at this point, right, if you look up the term faceplant in the dictionary, I think a picture of Kamala's face should be there. I really, though, wish that CNN's Dana Bash would have asked them both these 3 simple questions. I'm serious. They should have been asked, number 1, what is a woman? Number 2, can a man become pregnant? And then the third one, should children be allowed to change their gender? It would have been amazing. Then the world would have truly seen this team for what they really are, radically left frauds. Does Kamala show up to the debate with Trump now on September 10th? I mean, who knows? If she listens to her handlers this time, she might even back out. And then finally, we'll all be unburdened by any hope that she could actually become president.